Thanks for staying with us. We're being joined this morning to x-ray the papers by Mr. BIODUN SOWUNMI, a public affairs analyst. Good morning and welcome to the show, Mr. SOWUNMI.
Good morning.
Okay, we have papers before us. We'll begin with the Vanguard newspaper this morning. The leading headline is INEC, Tinubu shops for Yakubu's replacement. And intrigues as dark forces plot to truncate credible polls in 2027. That's a rider there. And we also have others like why President Tinubu should be concerned about the credibility of polls. Nigeria's history of encouraging election maleficence by sidestepping the law. How dependable institutional memory can deliver effective election management. The challenge of rebuilding confidence in INEC. All these are riders to that story. INEC, Tinubu shops for Yakubu's replacement. So 2027 is very close at hand. What kind of INEC chairman are you looking for as a person?
Yeah, it's becoming a ritual that every time we have a new election, after past elections, the chairman of INEC gets replaced. The most important thing is are two issues. One is the Electoral Act, while at the same time try to beef up the Electoral Act to address misgivings or concerns expressed in the last election. So I expect the same thing to happen. It's not just about the chairman, it's about also the Electoral Act. And that is what gives confidence to the electorate. So while the president is shopping for a replacement, at the same time, to address concerns by those who accused Yakubu of being partial or who criticized him over the last election. It doesn't matter whether they're right or wrong. The fact also is that we need to look at the Electoral Act again to make sure that concerns are also addressed in order to beef up confidence in not only just the Electoral Commission, but also in the law governing election, because it's a two-way process that while also the electorate parties should play their own part. So it's a good thing to ensure a change of personality to drive new changes in the electoral law and also ensure public confidence, sustaining public confidence in the Electoral Commission.
Yeah, but what do you feel about what has always been happening, the president being the one to shop for someone who will superintend over an election that will decide his own fate?
Yes, and it's not just up to Mr. President. Like we all know that the National Assembly will still have to approve whoever is being proposed. Somebody has to propose from somewhere. Whether we say Mr. President or we say the National Assembly, the fact of the matter is we always have a majority party in the National Assembly. So therefore, it doesn't make much difference. But at the point somebody has to. The most important thing is to ensure the impartiality of INEC and also the reputation. Ensure that a well-reputed Nigerian is appointed to be. If you remember the case of Jega, when Jega was brought in, it was very, very popular. Many people believed in a time of Jega's commission. So also, I remember the case of Professor Onfriwosu. Many people actually trusted Onfriwosu, who conducted the June 12th election. So I think the credibility of that candidate matters a lot more than who is actually nominating.
Okay, well, I don't know, in maybe some other places, but here in Nigeria, from things that have happened, it seems as if who is nominating is a very, very important issue. We've seen issues that have happened that so many things were bypassed, but because a particular person did the pronouncements or did the nominations, everybody just followed suit. That seems to be what is happening in Nigeria. I don't know whether you believe really in the separation of powers in the Nigerian system as it is. Like, you can imagine when the president, especially the sitting president, will take something to the National Assembly and they say no. I can't imagine it because of what has happened. Maybe it can be done, but I cannot imagine it at this time that I'm sitting here. Maybe I'm just paranoid or something.
Well, that has not been the case in the past. We remember when Jonathan was in power, when the Senate President Saraki actually led the Senate, we saw so many bills, so many initiatives of the president either turned down or fine-tuned.
Yeah.
Also, in this dispensation, we have seen things being proposed by Mr. President, facing opposition in the National Assembly. And you remember the issue of the tax reforms, the huge opposition towards it. Eventually, the National Assembly had to go back and look at it and then tinker with it in a way that more consultations were done to be able to take it forward to the level where it is currently. And it's not only that, the issue of the River State is also there. We've seen the National Assembly not totally, completely agreeing with Mr. President. We've seen them tinker with his decision. And I can give you an example, which is to National Assembly itself will set up a monitoring, a facilitation committee to help resolve the conflicts that gave rise to this emergency, state of emergency. That was not part of the proposal of Mr. President, but this National Assembly has also done that. So for me, I think a lot of it is about the president doing his own work, knowing that whatever you are taking to National Assembly, you have a broad support. We've seen even members of the opposition supporting the president on the state of emergency. Not all of them, some members. So if an issue has a broad support, you are likely going to see it passing through the National Assembly. It shouldn't be a matter of because the president is presenting it, so National Assembly should reject it. A lot of it has to do with what is in the best interest of the nation, and that's where we should go.
Okay, well, there is also this, let's remain with INEC, more or less. There's also this story about senators differ, still on Vanguard, senators differ over calls to immortalize Humphrey Nwosu. Remember that June 12 is adjudged the freest and fairest election, and that was what we got when we got option A4 by Humphrey Nwosu, and it really was a very credible election by so many standards. At least 90% of Nigerians, or more than 70% of Nigerians, will agree to that. And someone raised a motion for him to be immortalized, and some senators were against it. And it became something that made, I think, Abaribe, who brought the motion, to walk out on the National Assembly and said that he was shut down and not allowed to speak and all that. But I'm bringing this up because now that the president is shopping for a new INEC chairman, this could have helped to be something that will give the new chairman the incentive to work really hard, knowing that his works will be remembered even by the next administration that is coming, or by posterity. And now the senators are shutting it down, or they're making it look like it's not as important as it should have been. So who in Nigeria should be given honors, if not people like Humphrey Nwosu?
Yes, I quite rightly agree with you. If you look at, I remember quite very well that Humphrey Nwosu, not only found to be very capable, he conducted the most free and fair elections in our country. And many Nigerians applauded him. Across the board, many people tend to agree, even though at that point in time the military truncated it. But the fact of the matter is, he not only accomplished his work, the then president, or the military president, has since then now confirmed what we all knew, that in fact that election was free and fair and credible election. I would expect that with those admissions by General Ibrahim Babangida, I would expect that the man that conducted that election deserves to be a national honor, even if it means, to encourage other people by conferring on him, GCON. And I will say GCON because, I mean, you have the likes of Dangote and others. GCON, I know, is a title normally given to the vice president of the federation. Or the barest minimum, it should be given a CFR, so GCFR. So, I'm sorry, it should be given a CFR, Commander of the Federal Republic. So, if we don't celebrate Nigerians who behave patriotically, who has been found, to have behaved credibly in national interest, even in the face of military onslaught. Don't forget, it was under a military regime. It's totally different to be an INEC chairman under a democratic dispensation than compared to a military regime. Even faced with the guns, Uncle Usu did his best to maintain his ground. I think he's one of the Nigerians that should be celebrated. To me, he's one of the few heroes which have been thrown up, under the military regime. Apart from those who fought, for June 12th, he indeed deserves to be recognized by our country.
Okay, let's take a final one here from Vanguard, because some headlines here are also on the other newspapers. Reps move to strip VP governors, deputy governors of their immunity. What do you think about that?
Well, for me, this issue of immunity is neither here nor there. Yes, we have countries where they have immunity. We also have countries where they do not have immunity. But what we have seen in recent times is reported grievances against states where there are immunity from the executive, particularly the president, vice president, governors, and deputy governors. If you look at what is going on in the United States, many people are aggrieved about steps being taken by Donald Trump. It is neither here nor there because we are beginning to see Trump projecting a new world viewpoint from the existing world order, and therefore many people are upset about it, but there's literally nothing they can do. We've seen, a judge ordering that some Venezuelan migrants should not be deported, and we've seen Trump using a different lawful order, which normally would be invoked when there is war, to get them sent back and to the judge children. And he can only do this because he's immune. And we also saw that when the campaign was on in the last US elections, we saw the convictions, and still he was able to become the president, knowing that he would be immune once he's elected. So the same thing is happening in our own country. There are so many governors who were facing EFCC charges over the years, and they still find themselves in public office one way or the other. The Senate president is also there. We know about even the current River State Governor Fubara. He was being wanted for over 400 billion naira alleged fraud by the EFCC. He was protected by a sitting governor who had immunity, and the moment he became the governor, now he has immunity. And the same thing we are having, I remember in Kogi State, the current governor, Usman Ododo, protected him for a long time before he eventually gave himself up, and simply because Ododo has immunity. So when you look at the issue of immunity, it has been abused in different time. And then we see these ones in practice. So I think whether it's they are removing it or not, the Senate president does not have immunity, the Speaker does not. I actually think then it should be removed, even for governors, deputy governor, president, and vice president, so that everybody will know they will have to account for their actions. What I think shouldn't happen is, at least for the president, is that the president can be arrested whilst in office. I don't think that is appropriate. I think if there are serious allegations and there are prima facie cases, we may have to evolve the system of doing that through the Supreme Court or create a constitutional court. Then that president can be stopped from contesting for a new term or be indicted while waiting to serve out his term in office or being prosecuted. So in Italy, we see, sitting president being prosecuted. Same thing that is going on in Israel, for instance. So the issue of immunity is something that should not be lifted only for deputy governor. I think it should go across the board.
Well, abusing anything in Nigeria is possible, like you have expressed fear, but do you think the level of abuse of the immunity is worse than the kind of abuse that might come if the immunity is removed?
I can't hear you.
Well, we seem to be, can you hear me now?
The voice is gone. I'm going to have to try and sign in again. The voice is gone. I'll try and sign in immediately.
Okay. We don't have much time anyway.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Well, unfortunately, Mr. BIODUN SOWUNMI cannot hear me right now. We've been looking at some of the headlines and we hoped that we could take it to 8 on the dot, but now he's trying to sign out and sign back in. I don't know if we have that much time to take him anymore, but before that comes up, let's just take the headlines that are on the papers, and then even if we cannot bring back Mr. BIODUN SOWUNMI, then you know what is going on that you need to read up on. Remaining on the Vanguard, senators differ over calls. Okay, we've done that. Wike Atiku Bika over 2027. We also have reps approved bill to enlist 37 LCDAs. That is in Lagos State. Those LCDAs in Lagos State that have been operating for a long time now, the reps is looking at how they can turn them into local government. That means Lagos will have like 57 local government areas if that is done. INEC, okay, recall, INEC notifies BIODUN, BIODUN and Akpabio. Mr. SOWUNMI, are you back there?
Yes, I'm back.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. You were, I hope you held your thoughts, and you were on a, I was trying to ask you, we are now like between the devil and the deep blue sea. Now that we have immunity, it is being abused from the way you're saying it. But do you think the level of abuse of this immunity will be less than the level of abuse when the immunity is removed? I'm talking about the kind of distractions that might come. I think a classical example for me will be the recall of the Senator Natasha. What grounds are they using to, but because some people can sponsor this, that is why it is happening. That's my own theory anyway. But I'm thinking that removing immunity will also bring abuse of that situation, and I think it might be worse and more distracting to the governors, the vice president, and all that. And maybe it will just give the president absolute power to just, by the snap of the finger, remove anybody that he wants to remove. I'm just wondering aloud. So do you think it's better to remove immunity than to leave immunity there because of abuse? And do you think the abuse then will be less than what is happening now?
Yeah, if you look at it, the real essence of immunity is to ensure that people are not, elected officials are not distracted by frivolous cases when they are in office, or even genuine cases, so that they are able to concentrate on their own assignment. No doubt, we can imagine a situation where there is war in the country and the president is being taken to court, on one charge or one allegation or the other, rather than concentrate on, fighting the war in the best interest of the country. I think that's the essence. Then, of course, the immunity does not protect them from civil suits. In many cases, it's against criminal conduct. And the Supreme Court has actually found that, I think it was a case taken to court by Ganifa Wendy, that, they can be investigated while in office. I think what the missing point is that you can be charged, but that charge will be suspended. The trial will be suspended while the indictment, the court, will stay until when you leave office. That will leave many people with immunity to query whether they really want to face an indictment. Then it will also, inform the electorate about who they are voting for if the person is contesting for a second term in office. That look, there's an indictment in court already, and this person needs to face, needs to be processed through the criminal justice system, and therefore may not be suitable. So that will help the electorate. Well, that is if you have to retain it. But if you look at the case you refer to, the case of Natasha Ubara in the Senate, you realize that she made allegations, against the Senate president, and of course, the Senate president does not enjoy immunity. But the problem here is that she's not going through the criminal justice system. For me, it's appearing like a media war, making those allegations, filing a petition before the Ethics and Privileges Committee, not appearing to defend it. They threw it out on technical ground, then she filed another one, complying with the Senate rules, again, not appearing to defend it, then going to International Parliamentary Union, making statements on cases in court in Nigeria, which she filed herself, and then going to say US and to the United Nations. For me, it appears like she's waging a media war rather than ensuring that those serious allegations made by her against Akpabio are properly processed through the criminal justice system. And the best way to do that is by reporting it to the Nigerian Police Force for full investigation. Apart
Okay, eventually, Mr. Showme, that's the much we can take on this segment of the program. We'd like to thank you for your time this morning. We wish you a very wonderful day. We've been talking with Mr. BIODUN Showme, public affairs analyst. We were looking at some of the headlines. They are very interesting headlines that we could not even touch. We do hope that you're going to grab a copy of the newspaper yourself or go online and read on some of these stories. It's always very good to keep yourself abreast of what is happening in your country. That way, even if you want to blast the government, you know what to say. If you want to support them, you know what to say. It goes beyond just going online and seeing what comment somebody has made and just begin to rain curses on his family and friends and everybody without even knowing the meat of the matter. It's happening nowadays in Nigeria so much that you think whether the internet has taken away our brains to reason and see how we can build a nation. You don't build a nation by just talking down on people. You don't build a nation by just cursing people. You don't build a nation by not looking critically at issues that have been raised, no matter how bad they might sound, to see what you can get out of it. Like they say, in every rumor, there is an aspect of truth. So why not just think about how you can help Nigeria grow to be a better country by knowing what is happening, by knowing why it is happening, by knowing where it is happening, and by knowing what kind of solution you think can be proffered. You never know who is listening to you, no matter where you're talking from. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll be on to our first hot topic for this morning. Stay with us.